Welcome to Recovery 360, the podcast dedicated to exploring the pathways to treatment and recovery, brought to you by Recovery Centers of America. I'm Loraine Ballard Morrill, Director of News and Community Affairs for iHeartMedia Philadelphia, and I am joined by the fantastic Tony Luke Jr. Hey, Tony.
Hello, Loraine.
How are you today? This has been amazing, right?
I'm good. Another show, some more information. Well, let's help some people today.
Absolutely. In each episode, we sit down with experts, survivors, advocates in the field of treatment and recovery. We'll unravel the complexities of addiction, mental health, and physical wellness while shedding light on the diverse range of therapies, interventions, and approaches available. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about being in recovery and also working in recovery.
An individual's personal journey of recovery from substance use disorder is a courageous and transformative process. To talk about what it's like to be in recovery while working in recovery, we're joined by Bob Gibson, Alumni Coordinator, Julie Toy, Alumni Coordinator, and Pete Vernig, VP of Mental Services, all from Recovery Centers of America.
Well, let's start with you guys, Julie and Bob. What inspired you to pursue a career in the recovery profession, given your personal experiences with recovery? Julie, start.
Want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So what started my journey was the fact that obviously I have firsthand experience in addiction. I struggled for about 27 years in active addiction. Just kind of being in like corporate America, working jobs because I had to, really no purpose in it. Then I went and got treatment actually at RCA and was really just blown away by the treatment that was afforded to me. And I saw that there was a lot of purpose in that journey and being able to help other people. And it's one thing that helps my sobriety on a daily basis.
What about you, Bob?
I would say as far as like how it started, I spent a lot of my life feeling kind of purposeless and honestly like pretty useless most of the time, and massive lack of direction, never knew what I wanted to do or be. And then it sounds kind of silly, but like the first time I went to a detox, I was getting my like search before I went into the facility, and the guy that was doing it told me that he was in recovery, and he was telling me a little bit about himself. And like immediately from that moment, I thought to myself like that would be cool. That'd be cool to like be that guy that gets to like talk to somebody when they come in. And I didn't like stay sober for a little while after that, but that seed had been planted. Like that was with me the whole time, even when I was still using that. Someday that might be something I might be interested in. So it's cool that I have the opportunity to like actually do that today.
Yeah. So Pete, it looks like Bob had a possibility role model there, someone who was in recovery and was helping with recovery. What is the value of having individuals who had that lived experience be in that space?
Well, it's absolutely invaluable having individuals working in the field who have experienced themselves. First of all, in their ability to connect often with those who are going through it. There is an honesty, there's knowledge, there is just an ability to be heard that oftentimes you don't get from other professionals who haven't had that experience. And also, I think that it helps us all to understand more about what we do on a day-to-day basis from the point of view of, something as simple as, you had brought up, Bob, the process of somebody going through the admissions process. What does that actually feel like to somebody who is having that experience? We try very hard to be trauma-informed. We try very hard to, provide that as a non-stigmatizing, re-traumatizing experience. But if you haven't been through that, you really can't see that fully from the outside. So, I've worked with many people who are in recovery from substance use disorder, from mental illness, and some of the colleagues I've learned the most from are those.
So how does your personal journey in recovery influence the way you personally approach and connect with individuals who are seeking their own addiction issues?
That'd be a Bob question to start, yeah?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
Bob. Go for it.
So as far as like how does it influence the way I approach and connect with individuals, I would say, most of what I'm going to talk about with like a prospective patient that comes into the facility is going to be based on my own actual personal experience. It's not like something that's like a theory or something that I learned. It's like something that I did, something like mistakes that I made, things that worked for me. So it's like coming from a place of like personal, real world experience. And I think they appreciate that when it's coming from somebody who's like been there, done that. You learn a lot, I've found, through making mistakes as much as you do by doing the right thing. So I share a lot of the mistakes with them. So like ideally they can hopefully like avoid those things. But it's nice. They find us to be somebody they can like believe in, and they believe that we're being honest about our experience. And I think it's useful.
Yeah, Julie, I think what Bob says is so important to talk about the mistakes that you made as well as the successes that you had, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think you said it perfectly. I don't know that I would have said anything different, honestly.
I do know, though, that when I speak, it's very draining. Like there's times where I used to do maybe 2, sometimes 3 speaking events in the same day, and I found myself at the end of the day just completely destroyed. So obviously being in it and doing what you're doing, how do you maintain your own recovery when you're so involved in helping those to commit to start their own journey in that? So what do you do? Is there techniques that you've learned that work for you where you're able to kind of release, your own struggle, because you're hearing it every day, so it is affecting you. It's bringing back memories. It's things that you have been through. Is there anything that you can share that you personally do that kind of helps you let some of that go so you can maintain your own recovery while doing the work that you're doing?
Do you want me to go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that it's a really tough balance to have. The one thing, at least in, the fellowship that I belong to, which is a 12-step fellowship, is, making sure that we're staying active in that community, because being inside the treatment world isn't your recovery. Really having some solid support and, reaching out to people, it's critical. It's really critical, making sure that you carve out time for yourself. I think inside the facility and in our own recovery journey, we're not just helping people inside the treatment center, but we're also helping people who are in our recovering communities. So it's kind of nonstop. But for myself, I know, like, making sure that I'm hitting my meetings, making sure that I'm connected to my sponsor, making sure that I'm going through my steps constantly, like, that doesn't stop. I'm really just leading by example, right? And I have to follow the lead of other people to keep myself going, and really just continue to take suggestions from other people, like, hey, Joel, I see you're burned out. You need to take some time off, kind of things like that.
Yeah. Bob, I imagine that being in this work can be very triggering, right? So how do you overcome that? What are your strategies?
I would say, so I agree with like literally everything Julie said. I was taught, like, in the very beginning, so I was kind of told by other people in recovery that, working in treatment can be like a really dangerous thing for somebody that's in recovery, because what tends to happen to a lot of people is if they were working some sort of program, and as Julie mentioned, like, I'm a member of a 12-step program, what happens is you go to work every day and you're talking recovery all day, and you're not talking recovery with like other recovered people who are there to talk about like solution and like hope necessarily. You're talking to people who are like first 2 days, 5 days, 30 days of recovery, who are as they kind of use the term like sick, like not really well at the moment. So it's like it can be very draining. Like, you don't go in there and necessarily get what you need for your recovery. If anything, it gets sucked out of you. Mm-hmm. So like what I was warned is, like, whatever I'm doing with my recovery, not only can I not do less, I have to do more. So like I have to go to more meetings. I have to pray more. I have to call more people. As far as like outside of that like specific thing though, for me, I spend time every single morning exercising. That's a big thing for me. I'd say that I kind of work out like a drug addict, if I'm being honest, because I am. I also, I pray a lot. I like to play video games. That's a good way for me to unplug. I need some time every day because we essentially just talk all day. That's basically our job. So like I need alone time. I need like some time, like at least every couple of days, if not every day, where I can just like completely unplug and not have to speak with anybody. That's a really big deal for me.
Right. So Pete, you have 2 great examples of people in recovery who are helping others in recovery. How does you're on the other end of things. You're not someone who's experienced recovery, but you know what the issues are. How do you support and protect these two wonderful individuals so that they can continue to do what they're doing?
I think that in the field we need to be supportive and protective of each other regardless of someone's background. I think it's an overused cliche in healthcare, but it's an important one, of the oxygen mask on an airplane that you need to, before helping someone else out, they tell you put your own oxygen mask on, because if you're not wearing a mask and breathing, you're not going to be able to be helpful to anyone else. So I think that for people in the field, regardless of if you're in recovery or not, for myself, I know if I'm not taking good care of myself, if I'm not well, if I'm not healthy, I'm not going to be very helpful to others. So I think that creating a space, creating a culture in which you can take care of yourself and in which self-care is prioritized, and in which, if a person is really struggling, we can take a day off of work, or we can take a little bit of time to decompress, and we have supervisors and we have colleagues who help and support that. I think that that's one of the most important things for everybody in the field.
So if you can please explain to me, what are some of the common misconceptions or stigmas you face as a professional in recovery, and how do you address them?
You got that off the cuff?
I'll give it a shot.
Go ahead.
So, not to disappoint anyone, but if I'm being honest, I don't really feel like I face any of that.
That's why I'm like, you want to go?
Yeah, there's probably a large percentage, if not more than 50% of the people that work where I work at are in recovery. And the people that are not personally in recovery do have an understanding of like what the disease of addiction is. So I don't think that there's really so much of like a judgment or a stigma there. Is that something that exists like outside in the regular world? Yeah, certainly. But I don't really personally experience it in the workplace at all, if I'm being honest.
What about you?
I feel the same way. It's kind of why I deterred over to him, because I didn't have an answer. I haven't faced any of that. If anything, it's kind of like you feel at home. You feel right where you're supposed to be. So, yeah, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah. Well, here's a question that I'm sure you're happy to answer, and that is, can you share some success stories that you've had being able to work with individuals from your lived experience, them knowing you've been there and you know what they're feeling, what they're experiencing? Tell us.
There's a lot of those,
Yeah.
fortunately. I think, one of the things that I can say from my own experience, which is truly a blessing, a success story, is, I know the darkness in which people sit in their disease all too well. And I know that kind of like deer in headlights stare that you get from them when they first come in. They're scared. They're filled with fear. And it kind of is like the light has gone out inside of them. And then all of a sudden you start helping them get to the other side. And like that, you see this light go on inside of them. And, for myself, I've sponsored quite a bit of women. And, most of my sponsees have so far to this day lived long-term sobriety. And that in itself, it's not my success, it's theirs, but I just get to share in it. And I think that's the success that I get from it, is just the sharing and watching somebody get their life back.
Mm-hmm. Bob, do you have any specific stories that pop out in your head?
So I do. I would say I have a few to kind of echo what Julie was saying. So our position specifically where we work at is really cool because we get to remain in touch with people after they discharge from treatment, which is pretty uncommon in the industry. Most of the time, like once people roll out of the facility, that's where like the contact ends due to the professional boundaries. But our job is to try to keep in touch with them. So I get to see and hear success stories every day. That's kind of like my job. I'm very blessed in that. So we have like these big meetings every week where we have 40, 50, 60 alumni come back, and they're all doing well and sober, and their eyes are bright and they're smiling and they're laughing, and it's really wonderful because we saw them when they walked in. We saw what they looked like. We heard how they felt, what they were thinking, and then to see them transform. But one specifically I think about all the time is I was outside of the facility, like kind of in the driveway, and there was a couple of alumni. This was like a couple of years ago that were kind of standing in a circle talking before they were about to go into a meeting. And I walked up and I noticed one of them who was somebody who had been in the facility like multiple times. And it was one of those situations where I was speaking with him, but it was like he was a completely different person, and it was like really shocking. And then I'm having this experience where I'm speaking with this person, and it seems like I don't even know them anymore in like the most beautiful, positive way ever. And then all of a sudden, he pointed to my left, and he was like, "Hey, did you notice so and so over here?" And I looked over, and there was another guy that I'd known for like years, but he was so different in like the way that he was carrying himself and looking people in the eye. I mean, physically, he didn't change like that significantly, but I hardly recognized him. So like seeing how the extreme levels of change that people can have in their lives and how positive it is like, we couldn't do this if that didn't happen. Like if nobody got better, there's no chance that we'd be able to do this. If we need to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be so satisfying to be able to see that kind of transformation. As someone who lives in Kensington, I and my stepson used to go to Conwell Middle School. I used to have to drive up, every day in the middle of the opioid epidemic. And you see people on the street, and you see them shooting up, and you see the devastation. You see these young girls who age, over the course of weeks. And so to be able to encounter someone who's been through something like that and to almost not recognize them because that cloud has lifted, that personal hell is now healed or at least eased, must be something extraordinary, right, Pete?
Absolutely. One of my favorite parts of doing this job is being able to see somebody and, having seen them when they came in and having seen them when they're leaving. And of course, you make a very good point that when somebody is leaving one of our facilities, that's not the end of recovery, that's the beginning of recovery. And then there's that long-term journey that they're on. But being able to see them and see that change is one of the things that, that keeps me doing it. That keeps a lot of us doing it.
Tony?
The transformation, what you're really talking about is not the physical transformation. It is the mental and spiritual transformation, because we can look a certain way, but when we look at someone and we speak to them, the way we carry ourselves says so much about what the inside of ourselves looks like. And I've seen it as well. Like I've seen people that I have been rooting for and speaking with, and I meet them, and you can tell immediately that the outward appearance of them is still exactly the way they looked from every time I've spoken to them, but there was something in their eyes. There was a look, a light, which is a great, the term you used. There's a light that goes on of not just hope, but a light of that transformation. There was a question in here, we're going to ask about, how has working in recovery, how has that enhanced, your life and your purpose? But it's a question that doesn't need to be asked, because every single thing that you have mentioned, everything that you spoke about, you can see that they are on the journey with the people that they are helping. It's an amazing feeling to know that someone is with you, but it's even a greater feeling to know that someone is legitimately sharing in the joy of your success. People can feel when you truly are happy for them and you're truly sharing in that joy. And I don't know how life can get any better for you than seeing the light come on in someone's eyes where there was only darkness. That, to me, there's no money value that you can put on that. I mean, that to me is why we even exist as human beings. If we all thought of that, if we all looked to turn the light on in everyone that we've met in our life, it makes the light inside us the brightest that it can possibly be. So that's an incredible work that you do, truly.
Thank you.
Bob,
Very well said.
You talked about how earlier in your life you didn't have purpose, or you didn't think you had purpose.
Yeah.
Clearly, working in recovery has enriched your lives both of you, Julie, Bob, your life and your sense of purpose. And I wonder if you can talk a little more about what it has meant for you to be in this field. 27 years in recovery is amazing.
No, not 27 years in recovery, 27 years in my addiction. I'm 5 years in recovery.
5 years in recovery, let me be corrected. 5 years, amazing years in recovery,
Yes.
after 27 years. That's a remarkable statement. And so working in this field, clearly you found your purpose. And Bob, you found your purpose, right?
Yes. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you like me to expand?
Yes, please. Please
Try.
expand.
Yeah. So everyone already said like so many things very beautifully, but I would say so. Like, although it is like an occupation. I would say that probably nobody that I know that works in the treatment field does it for money. I don't think that's like why anybody is involved in it. If that's what you're after, as far as why you're doing the profession, you're in the wrong profession.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're supposed to be doing here. I would say too, like my favorite thing about it is I get to carry out like my primary purpose on a daily basis. I get to be exposed to people on their first day of recovery all the time. So if you're a part of like a 12-step community, you might get to meet somebody on day one of sobriety once a year, maybe twice a year if you're lucky, if you're in the right place at the right time. I get to meet those people every single day, multiple times a day. So getting an opportunity to kind of be maybe the first person to like give them a little spark of hope or do what that person did for me when I went into my first detox, and just like kind of let me know like, hey, like some of us make it, some of us are okay and happy, is a pleasure. You also get like kind of like a secondary fellowship out of it. So many people come through the facility, and then I do run into them like out in the world in my own recovery, and everywhere I go, I get to see them, and it's just nice. I feel like I know people everywhere I go, and it's just nice to feel a part of it.
Yeah, well said. So at least for myself, like having that sense of purpose prior to, I always felt that my destiny was to die from this disease, and I just kind of accepted it. Excuse me. But, once I got treatment for the 8th time, and God willing, it's my last time, and walked into my fellowship and was taught this way of life that Bob is talking about, and then being able to transform my career into this, like you said, just kind of being able to meet those people every single day, live out our primary purpose, which is for ourselves to stay sober and help the next suffering addict or alcoholic. And that in itself is like you said, Tony, I think as human beings, that's kind of what we're here to do in the first place. So let's take out the fact that it's recovery, but because we have this type of fellowship and program, it just kind of excels it in a different direction, I guess. But I mean, it's truly just beautiful. It really is. I think given our positions inside the facility, it's so different than your traditional treatment center employees and stuff like that. Like we get to teach, our fellowship 12-step programs to them. We get to meet with them one-on-one. We get to introduce them to different parts of the step work. We get to introduce them and link them up with sponsors on the outside. I mean, we do so much with them that, like, how can our life not be filled with purpose? You know what I mean? There's no way around it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Pete, if people want more information about Recovery Centers of America, where do they go?
For more information about Recovery Centers of America, you can go to recoverycentersofamerica.com or call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 844-25-RECOVERY.
Thank you, Bob Gibson, Julie Toy, alumni coordinators at RCA, Pete Vernig, Vice President of Mental Health Services from Recovery Centers of America. I'm Loraine Ballard Morrill.
I'm Tony Luke Jr.
We'll see you soon.